hope so.
I'd give it one more minute, Cal, and then you could probably get started.
Okay, thank you. Just let me know whenever you want me to start, Jess.
I think you could get started. We have some
Okay.
viewers.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We are going to try to do a little review of our new Naviance program and how it can help our students in their college exploration. Some of you may have joined us for our college night meeting earlier in the year. And in order to, or in an effort to try to not share the same information, I went ahead and created some links. This presentation will be posted on our website. So I did go ahead and create links to the previous college night presentation, which goes much more in detail about the specifics of the college application process and the college exploration process, as well as a YouTube link of the live stream that we did, and then our colleges and careers webpage that you can access that has all of this information on it as well. I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on the Naviance side of things and not so much on the actual college exploration part of it. But we'll briefly go through a few things and then we'll get started on the Naviance side of things. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, and Mrs. Crumpack is here to help me answer any of those questions as they come along. So some of the common questions that my students and the parents are asking are, why college? Why should students go to college? The answer is not all that simple, but we'll talk about it a little bit. And the answer is not every kid should go to college. Not every occupation requires a college degree. And there are a lot of occupations out there that provide a very wonderful living for people, and they do not require college degrees. So we really want to have the discussion with our students about going to college for the right reasons. And then we need to have the discussion about what colleges are looking for, because I find in my conversations with students that a lot of them really don't understand what colleges truly are looking for. And that what colleges are looking for has changed. So sometimes if you tell them what you thought it was when we were going to high school or going to college, it's not the same for these students. What should you look for in a college? That's a really important conversation to have with our students, because a lot of them have different things that they think they want from colleges, and we've got to help them pinpoint the most important areas that they need to focus on when they're trying to find the college that's right for them. And then also, how do I learn more about college exploration and the application process? So why college? The simplest answer is financial. College graduates earn 74.5% more than high school graduates. Now, this was actually dated back in 2017, so this is slightly outdated, but we are seeing a fairly steady consistency to this. So if you look at this chart, you can see that a high school graduate on average makes around $30,000, whereas a person graduating with a bachelor's degree on average is in the $52,000 range. And a graduate master's or professional degree gets you up around $69,000 or $70,000 a year. When I talk to my students, I try to help them understand that this is not always the way that it is. Are there people out there who do not have a college degree that are making well over $70,000 a year? Absolutely. Are there people who have a college degree who are making way less than $50,000 a year? Absolutely. But this is the trend, and this is part of the reason that we try to talk to them about finding the degree that they are, finding the occupation that they want, and determining whether or not that requires a degree, and if so, finding the college that is right for them to seek that degree. College graduates are more likely to earn more money, as we discussed. They are often more likely to have better healthcare coverage, which has become quite a large thing recently. And we're seeing that there are a lot of families that healthcare is one of the biggest things that they have to think about. It's one of the largest costs that they have, and it's one of the reasons that they have to choose the job that they're choosing. College graduates typically have safer working conditions. They are more likely to own a home. They are more likely to have children who also go to college. Most statistics show that they're more likely to be active members of their community, but part of the reason for that is because of the jobs that they're placed in. And they're more likely to have a plan for retirement. And as I get closer and closer to retirement, I realize how much more important that is. I think that's hard to have that discussion with 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, but the more we have those discussions with them, the better off they'll be in the long run. The purpose of the college experience is really to help the students gain knowledge and experience, improve their critical thinking skills, we really do want them to explore new interests. And that's one of the things that a lot of kids struggle with in college is I've had so many kids say to me, why am I taking this class? This is not what my major is. And it's part of the purpose of college is to take some of those classes that you may not have wanted to take to try to learn a little bit more about the world around you. So exploring new interests, finding out who you are and what you want to be or who you want to be. That's very important. So much of our children's lives are who they think we want them to be or who they think their friends want them to be. And so venturing out on your own and having that college experience allows them to some time for some self-discovery and trying to figure out who it exactly is that they want to be and what do they want their place to be in this world. And that might change a lot from the time they start college to the time they end or and everything in between. College is going to help them have opportunities that they might not otherwise be available to them. The doors that open. There are some jobs that do require a college degree. There are some jobs that you don't realize you may want later on down the road. I feel like I tell kids often I'm a perfect example of that is I wanted to work in the horse industry when I graduated from high school. And I remember having a conversation with my dad that I wanted to be a horse trainer. And the reality of it is, you don't have to go to college to become a horse trainer. In fact, the jobs that you get coming out of college with a degree in equestrian studies are really not that different than the jobs that you get, even if you don't have a college degree. But I decided to go get the college degree in equestrian studies and equine performance physiology because I knew that that might open up other doors. Fast forward 10 years later, when I decide that I want to be a school counselor, and the only way that I could get into the master's program for school counseling was to have a bachelor's degree. So it didn't matter what it was in. I think about that often and talk to kids about that often, that if I had not stuck with the degree for the equestrian studies, I would not be able to be a counselor right now without having a lot more schooling. So you have opportunities that are opened up to you with having that degree. And most statistics do show that college students or college graduates earn a potential of about $1 million more in their lifetime than people with a high school diploma. So $1 million is a lot of money. It may not seem like it when you're paying for that college degree, but part of our job is to try to help students find the most affordable way to go to college as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. What are colleges looking for? Very briefly, I'm going to go over this. And as I mentioned, I did link that other presentation, and I do go into a little bit more detail with this, but colleges are basically looking at your academic rigor, your academic performance. They are still looking at test scores, although that has changed a lot, and we'll discuss that. And they're looking for additional factors. We'll start actually with the additional factors. The additional factors are those extra things that you do. And what colleges are finding is that the more well-rounded an individual is, the more successful they are once they get to the next level, the post-secondary level. So they're looking for students who have been involved in extracurricular activities, community involvement. They're looking for students who are involved in clubs. They're looking for students who are involved in athletics. They're looking for just that well-rounded individual. And when you're applying to college, they find out how you're a well-rounded individual by some of the essays that you will write or letters of recommendations that you will provide. So it is really important for our students to understand that just being a strong student is not enough. Just being a good athlete is not enough. Just being involved in community activities is not enough. You really do need to be involved in all of those things. Going back up to the academic rigor, this is one thing that I talk to students about a lot. It is one thing that I think there's a large misconception about. I have so many students who are so focused on wanting to get a 4.0 GPA. They think that it is important to graduate with the 4.0 GPA. And sometimes that means that they'll take the easier classes to make sure that they don't get a B. I want to reassure students that that is not the best path. It is extremely important that you take the most rigorous courses that you can in high school. Part of that is because even though we do offer a lot of rigorous courses, if you look at some of the students who are going to other schools across the country, they even have more rigorous courses than what we have. So when you get to college, sometimes you might not feel prepared if you haven't taken the correct courses here at Girard. The other thing is that believe it or not, colleges don't always see a 4.0 as a positive thing. If you got a 4.0, but you didn't take the most difficult courses that your high school offered, they're going to see that as someone who didn't challenge themselves. And we, as counselors, are required to submit a school report to the colleges so that they know what courses we offer, so they can compare what courses we offer to the courses that you took. And if they see that you took easy classes and you did get a high GPA, but you didn't challenge yourself, that's not appealing to them. So that leads into the academic performance, as I mentioned. They really want to see students who, number one, challenge themselves with that rigor, but then can step up to the challenge. Now, academic performance does not always mean an A. I've had this with my own children, with friends of my children. I've had this discussion with them. Let's say that you are, by all means, a slightly above average student. They can look at your test scores and see you're above average. They can look at your grades for the most part and see that you're above average. But your senior year, you decided to challenge yourself with taking some college English courses and a higher level math class, like a calculus class or such. If you get a C in that calculus class, it is not the end of the world. Those colleges are going to look at that and say, okay, listen, that student took a class that was tough for them, but they were able to get through, and they appreciate that. So I don't want students to think that getting a B or a C on your transcript is the worst thing in the world, because in fact, it actually is not. Test scores, very briefly, the ACT and SAT scores, they do matter. They matter more for some schools than they do for others. And now with COVID happening, they're actually beginning to matter a lot less. Some schools are allowing you to apply what they call test optional, which means that you don't have to have an ACT or an SAT score to gain admission to the college or university. But other schools do very much still consider the ACT and SAT scores. Some of this I've already touched on, the important factors of your academic rigor. Like I said, you want to challenge yourself with taking rigorous courses. They want to see honors courses, CCP courses, and we do not offer AP courses, but there are some students who might choose to take AP courses on their own outside of school. That is an option for you. It does cost additional money on your part, but taking those AP courses could help better prepare you for college if you wanted to. As I mentioned, your grades do matter. Now, the best thing that you can do is start off from the very beginning, your freshman year, doing the best you possibly can. But it is important to understand that they also look at progression. So if you started off really strong your freshman year, and then you just get a little lax as you continue on, and your senior year you don't carry as good of grades, that is going to say something to the colleges, and they will pay attention to that. Vice versa, if I have a student who was struggling in their freshman year, but they really seemed to get the hang of high school and they started doing much better as the progression through high school continued, that is going to bode very well for them when they go to apply to colleges. It's important for our students to understand that the colleges do require a final transcript. So they can rescind offers of admission if you choose not to do well in your senior year and you're slacking off. The last thing would be class rank. And I think this is a really important thing. I have so many students who are worried about being ranked number one in their class. And the issue is that the transcript is always not an exact representation of your class rank. For instance, if we have 6 kids who have 4.0s, all of them are ranked number one. However, the next student who might have a 3.98 is actually not going to show on their transcript as ranked number 2. They're going to show ranked as number 7 because there are 6 kids ahead of them. And for that reason, colleges pay attention to how we report our rank and how many students share that rank. So if, for instance, you have a 4.0 and you're ranked first in your class, but there are, let's say, 10 other students who are ranked first in their class, what they are going to pay attention to far less than your class rank is what courses you took. So it's really important for our students to understand that when they're going to pick their courses. The ins and outs of test scores, just very, very briefly again. ACT and SAT are two very different tests. One is an achievement test, one is an aptitude test. So some students may do better or worse on one or the other. I do encourage students who are looking for college admission to go ahead and take both and decide which one suits them better, because for the most part, most colleges and universities accept both tests. The one exception to that would be some of the Ivy League schools, and a few other schools do only accept the SAT. So if you are considering going to some of those schools, you want to make sure that you take the SAT instead of the ACT. As I mentioned before, the changing trends are that due to COVID right now, many colleges are beginning to place less weight on the test performance and more weight on being that well-rounded individual and what kind of letters of recommendation you get. So we want you to do the best that you can on your ACT and SAT, but we also want you to understand that there are a lot of other factors that go into college admissions and acceptances. Admission versus scholarships is one place where we do have to talk about the tests. So although some colleges are allowing students to gain admission with applying test optional, which means no ACT or SAT score, they are still determining their merit scholarships or their academic financial aid based on test scores and grades. So not all schools are doing that. There are a few schools right now that are giving their merit scholarships based on grades, GPA, and application alone with no SAT or ACT scores. But many of the colleges still require the ACT or the SAT for your merit scholarships. In addition to that, one thing I didn't put on here is some of the classes that you will take in college, your ACT scores can determine whether or not you are college ready. Your ACT and SAT can determine whether or not you're college ready, or whether you would need to take remedial courses. And that could be an issue, because if you have to take remedial courses, you have to take the course, you have to pass the course, you have to pay for the course, but you do not gain credit for the course. So that is one of the reasons that we talk to the kids a lot about making sure they get their ACT score up as high as they can, because it'll help them so that they don't have to take remedial courses. As I mentioned before, colleges really want to see well-rounded applicants. And when I say well-rounded applicants, I don't even know if everybody can imagine what some of these applicants are putting together. We've had some of our students do very well in some scholarship competitions, but they come back from those competitions and they say, "Oh my gosh, Mrs. Warga, Mrs. Cochran, you know, the kids I was up against in the competition, they created their own foundations. You know, they've been providing Meals on Wheels for their entire community since they were freshmen in high school. They were president of everything." So when we talk about well-rounded applicants, we're talking about the fact that you really do need to be involved in a lot of things, and that needs to start early. You can't just start doing that your senior year because you're applying to colleges. They want to see a long-standing example of what you're doing to keep yourself well-rounded. Now, getting to the Naviance side of things, and I'll exit out of here in just a few minutes and show you around, but how you can find your college match on Naviance is just amazing. They have the Super Match, which is just one of my favorite tools that I'll show you how to use. They have College Match, which is not as great right now as what it can be in the future. As our school continues with Naviance, we will, excuse me, we will gain a lot more information in the College Match, because that is really a place where our students can go and compare themselves to other Girard students who have been accepted or applied to colleges. And since this is our first year, that part of Naviance doesn't have a lot of information in it yet, because we don't have that information to share. We encourage our students to attend college events. So we have rep visits available on Naviance. That is where our students can meet right now virtually with admission staff from different colleges and universities. Once COVID goes away, that rep visit feature will allow them to meet in person as well. And then we also encourage our students to have college visits with colleges and universities where they actually go to the campus and tour the campus and see the campus and visit. And those can be set up through Naviance as well. However, a lot of the schools have stopped doing that during COVID, but we're really hoping that that will start picking up very soon. One thing I tell students all the time is don't be afraid to explore. The great thing about Naviance is that you're not going to do anything wrong in there. Explore away, do whatever you want. I don't believe there's anything that you can do in there that I can't undo on my end. So if there's something that you make a mistake on or you feel like you made a mistake on, come and see me and I can fix it. And then secondly, remember to favorite things. If you find careers, as we've talked about careers before, if you find careers that you're interested in, favorite them. If you find schools that you're interested in, favorite them. If you find majors and programs that you're interested in, favorite them so that we can have them on there and they're easy to find. And then this is just some contact information that you can use if you need to get in touch with myself or Mrs. Cochran. I'm going to exit out of here really quickly and head to the Naviance site. What our students will need to know when they are trying to join Naviance is they will go to Google. They will log into their Google account, their school Google account, and they will go to these Google apps right here. I'm going to scroll down and I have to log into the Naviance staff, but your students will want to log into the Naviance student. So bear with me for just a moment and I'll show them what that looks like. They'll click on their school account. They'll go to their Naviance student account and it will look something like this. Now I'm in a demo account, so it doesn't have my name up, it has my last name, but their name will show up here. It will show what grade they're in. I'm currently in a demo account that is for seniors. I will do one that is for 11th grade so that it looks a little bit different. There we go. So this is their main screen. Naviance makes it pretty simple. You could very easily just type in the search of a college name here. So for instance, if I wanted to learn more about Youngstown State University, I can't type today. I could just type it in there and hit enter. It will look it up and then you can see that Youngstown State comes up. If I click on Youngstown State, if I give it just a minute, here's all the information that I can find about Youngstown State. One of the nice things is you can see I actually have this one favorited just because I've used it before. So you see this little heart. This is a school that I'm saying I'm interested in. Some of the colleges are better about providing this information than others. Youngstown State has a pretty good site here. So we have an overview where you'll see lots of videos. You'll see pictures from the university. They have lots of information on here. You can click on studies and it will show you information about the faculty ratio, the average classroom size, student retention, job placement, and then what degrees they offer. You can click on student life. It will show you that Youngstown State is a medium school with just a little over 11,000 undergraduate students. It's in Youngstown. It's only 4 miles from our school. It actually gives you directions if you click on this. And there's about 20% of the students living on campus. You can also go to admissions and it will tell you here the acceptance rate, whether they have early decision, no wait list. Excuse me. You can scroll down a little bit further and some of them will show you what you need as far as ACT requirements. Now, not all schools have this, so it just depends. And then the last tab over here is the cost. This is a big one. You've got to have that conversation about cost. So if, for instance, the annual tuition for in-state is a little over $8,000. You've got room and board, and you can actually show here, let's say my family makes between $30,000 and $48,000. This is the average net price of this is just average, but this gives you some idea of what it might cost. You can also click here about more cost and aid. It'll redirect you to the Youngstown State website. You can see here is the website for YSU right here, right underneath the name. You can look at how many people, the percentage of people that receive Pell Grants. So 41% of the students that go to YSU receive a Pell Grant. You can click here and it will show you a virtual tour.
Hi guys, welcome to Youngstown State.
There we go. We will click out of that because we don't need to watch that whole thing. If you click on the communication tab, you can request more information. You can send a message to the admissions office. A lot of them do have the link right here to apply online. And then if you have learn more, these are links to their website. So it's literally as simple as just typing in the name and you can learn almost anything that you want about the colleges. That's great if I know what colleges I want to research. If I don't, I want to go to our colleges tab over here and click home. Here you'll find the places where we talked about the super match, the college match, college events, an advanced college search, and college lookup. College compare is a nice feature, I think, in the future, but for right now, it actually doesn't work for our students because it's based on comparing you to other Girard applicants, and we just don't have that database in there yet because we haven't had the program long enough. The college resources tab, if you see, is very nice. It gives you a link to the Common App, the Coalition app, which is sometimes needed for different universities. I'm so sorry. It has the FAFSA link right here. FastWeb is where you can go for scholarships. Financialaid.org is where you can search for scholarships. There are ACT and SAT links here. NCAA link is right here. And then we also have military links. So if you go to the college's home and resources, that's where you'll find all of that information. We're going to start with Supermatch because it's by far my favorite. I love this feature. It allows students to, and I'm going to get out of there because I had already done this with another student. It allows students to search for their ideal school. So you just go onto Supermatch and you start the criteria and you say, I would really like to stay in Ohio. So you click Ohio, and then you scroll down. But you could also, if you don't want to do Ohio, okay, you could click the Midwest. So I'm going to take this out of here to give us more options. I want to stay in the Midwest. So it loads all those states in there for me automatically. If I see one that's missing, let's say I also wanted to consider Kentucky. Even though it's not officially considered the Midwest, I want to add Kentucky in there. So I add that and I say, I'd really like to go to a school that is in a large city. So I click that and then I go back up to the top and I can arrow over. I'm looking for a bachelor's degree. So I'm going to click a bachelor's degree and I would really like to study excuse me, biomedical, let's see if it came up. I'll say biochemistry. Let's just say biochemistry. And I don't have a minor that I'm interested in. So I'm going to say my GPA is a 3.2. That allows you to put in your current GPA. And I got a 24 on my ACT. I'm not worried about the acceptance rate because that's not super important to me. So I don't even have to click anything here. I can say whether I care what the application deadline is. I'm not going to do that for right now. I'm not worried about whether they apply through the Common App or the Coalition app, but let's say I do want to find somebody who's test optional, just for argument's sake. I would like a school that has a, let's see, an environmental club. And I'm not worried about Greek life, not worried about internships, but I would like to study abroad. I'm not too worried about ROTC, so I don't have to put that in. Overall diversity, I can say whether I care, whether it's, has a certain level of diversity. I definitely want to go to a co-ed school, so I can put that in. I can say what ratio of male versus female I want. I want it to have a religious affiliation, I can put that in there. I want something that is a 4-year, and I don't care if it's public or private. I'm not too worried, but I'd like to have something that has a high retention rate. I want to go to a school where the students stay there. So I want something with a high retention rate. Now, if you click over this I right here, if you hover over this I, it'll tell you what it is. Retention rate versus the percentage of students that return to the same institution. Institutions that have 87% or more of the students return the next academic year are considered to have a high retention rate. 87% is really high. So we'll see, that might limit what I can actually find, because that 87% is very high. I want something that has less than 30 students average class size. And I don't care too much about the population or the student body size. So I'd like to go to, I'd be okay with very large, even mid-size and medium, but I don't really want something that's small. So I definitely want on-campus housing. And then I can go to the next tab. I can say whether I care what the tuition rate is. For right now, I'm not going to do that. And I can add a sport if I want. I'm not going to do that right now. Resources, I can say if I want any resources on there. You can see there's obviously a lot of different offers here. I'm not going to click any of those for right now. Okay, so I've searched through and I have 12 criteria. And if you see here, it says I have 0 institutions that are 100% fit. But if I scroll down here, it said I had 0, but it looks like I have 1. You have 0 institutions that are both an academic match and also a match for all of my criteria. Okay, that's what it is. But DePaul University in Chicago is 100% match for what I want. But if you look here, it'll say that it doesn't match with my GPA, because I have a 3.2 and their average GPA is a 3.5. That's very important for me to understand, because maybe I really, really would love to go to DePaul and I need to get my GPA up a little bit higher. Now, if you see here, Western Michigan is a 98% match. You can click on why, and it'll tell you that the reason that Western Michigan was not a 100% match is because it doesn't have a high retention rate. It only has a 78% retention rate. So that is why it was not a 100% match. St. Joseph's University, again, let's see why. The location, it's located in Pennsylvania, so it's nearby, but it meets all of my other criteria. So if I list these schools and then I start finding schools that I'm very interested in, for instance, Temple, let's say I really liked Temple, you can see that it's outside of my location. But let's say I look at Temple and I say that's a school I'm very, very interested in. I can click on Temple University from the Supermatch, and it will take me to that website or the page for Temple that looks very much like we had for YSU. I can gather all that information, and if, for instance, I think that Temple's right for me, I can put a little heart there, and I can remember that Temple's one of the colleges that I'm looking at or that I'm considering. I love this Supermatch because it brings up schools that we didn't even know existed, or some of the students wouldn't even have considered. For instance, Calvin University. I don't know if any of us have ever heard of Calvin University. I know I haven't, but maybe this is a university that when a student clicks on it, they will find that it's a good match for them, and they could go do a college visit based on what they find out about Calvin University in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So that is one of the reasons that I absolutely love the Supermatch. Let here. We are going to go back to the college's home. Now the college match, as I mentioned, the reason that the college match is not as good right now is because we don't have the information on here that we need, because we don't have previous Girard graduates that have entered their information in here. So this part, unfortunately, is not going to be as helpful for our students as it will be in the future. College events, you can click on the college's events tabs. And it doesn't look like they have any list. Oh, there we go. There we go. It was taking a moment. I'm sorry about that. Colleges. Let's see. There we go. You can put in here, let's say, I'm looking for anything that's within 50 miles of our zip code. Okay. I can hit enter. There we go. And right now there are no events scheduled within 50 miles of us. Let's say any distance of us. All right, here we go. Elmhurst University has an event going on tonight, actually at 6:30. St. Mary's College of California, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Now, the interesting part about that right now is that you can see that a lot of these are virtual events. So even though they are far away, if your student was interested in joining them, they absolutely could, because they're virtual and you don't need to be present, physically present to be able to participate in them. So this is a nice change that has happened because of COVID, that our students are being allowed to have a lot more opportunity. Hold on just one moment, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. So these virtual events are a great opportunity for some of our students to learn more about schools that they might not otherwise be able to learn about. And I'm thinking that it might stay that way a lot as even after COVID, because a lot of the universities are finding that they're able to connect with more students this way. Go back to college's home. You can do an advanced college search. So this is similar to the super match, but it allows you to answer some of these questions a little bit easier and a little bit more broad than the super match. So some kids like this better. Let's say I'm looking for a 4-year school that's co-ed. I want it to be a public school in a large city. And then you just hit next, and you can go through and say, I want it to be in Ohio. Next. I have no preference on the student body. I have no preference on the admission. I want them to have Division I. Actually, I'll just do this because this is my daughter, so this will be easy. Division I, female, and I want them to have a gymnastics team. Okay. Done. All right. And then that's all I care about, right? That's all I want. I want to see view matches. And if you see, there's one, and it's Ohio State. That is, the one that she's at, interestingly enough. Now, if I went back and started over, what I would find is that there's actually another school. There are other schools that do have gymnastics, but I put that I wanted it to be in a large city. And Kent State and Bowling Green both have programs, but they do not qualify as a large city. So that is why they did not come up in my search. Excuse me. So you can see that they can also put in majors, they can put in cost. Again, this is very similar to the super match, but some students find this a little bit easier. The only difference is this one only gives you your matches, but it does not list your matches based with that percentage. If you remember, the super match said exactly what parts were the matches. So it will give you schools that match you maybe 75% versus this college search will only give you the schools that match perfectly. So if I had done this same search with the super match, I would still have seen that Bowling Green and Kent State have gymnastics programs because they would have told me that they match, but they don't match perfectly. If I do it in this part, in this section, it will only give me my exact matches. You can do a college lookup, which is what we actually did at the beginning on that first tab, but here's another place to do it. We have a quick list here. College names, you can like go in and put the name in. Let's see, you can search by keyword, you can search by state. So let's say I want to see what colleges are in, let's say Pennsylvania. I want to see what colleges are in Pennsylvania. Here it's going to list the colleges that are on here based on, and this might be, I'm looking on this. This is not all of the ones in Pennsylvania. Let me go back and see. I might have narrowed it because of my search. So let me go to advanced college. I want to start over. Here. College lookup. State. I don't know why it's doing that. That's not the way it usually works. So we might be having a little bit of a glitch here. Let's see what happens when I put in Ohio. I must have put something in here and not known it when I was doing something with one of my students. So, but again, if we wanted to just go to the super match and search for schools in Ohio, you can do that. So if we did super match, and I get rid of all of the things that I've already clicked on here. And I say I want to search for schools in Ohio. Then you'll see it has 39 institutions that fit 100% with Ohio. So it's going to list all of these schools here. Again, I want to encourage everybody to favorite the colleges that they're interested in so that they can go to the colleges I'm thinking about and they'll be on there. These are ones obviously that I have favorited in the process of doing this. I think that's about it for right now. It's a great tool. You can learn so much about different schools and consider costs and admissions and all of that. I love to sit down with kids and do it. So if they want to meet with me and we can do it together, I'd love to do that. Do we have any questions right now?
We have not had any questions.
Okay. All right.
Let me double check one more time.
Okay.
No, we haven't had any.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys very much for joining us and have some fun exploring. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.